Norse mythology is a lot more interesting than people give it credit for. It's inarguably the second most famous mythology in the Western world, but seeing as a majority of that popularity is pretty much exclusively owed to the MCU, how much does the general layman population really know?
90% of the time, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
If you were to ask a random stranger to name more than 5 Norse gods, odds are they would fail the challenge, and I can almost guarantee you that their first 3 responses are going to be Thor, Odin, and Loki. In that pronunciation. And while all of these guys have been done incredibly dirty by Hollywood's portrayal of them, there's probably a 4th name you'll hear more often than not, who basically shares 0 of the characteristics of his mythological counterpart. Heimdall isn't exactly what you'd call an obscure Norse god like Kvasir or Hodr or Funny Shoe Man. However, what most people would probably be able to tell you is that he's got really good eyes, really strong lungs to sound a loud as hell horn to signal Ragnarok's approach, guards the Bifrost, whatever the fuck that is in this interpretation, and he and Loki are going to end up offing one another in the same aforementioned Ragnarok. And that's about it. If you are one such individual, never fear. Your mythology daddy is here to expand your understanding of this figure with so much worthless knowledge. If you brought up any of this in casual conversation, you'd be swiftly and forcibly reacquainted with the feeling of touching grass. With your face. Don't worry, it's the internet. You can watch this video, then delete your search history so no one will ever know that you were here. Just be sure to like the video and subscribe. Now, the name Heimdall technically isn't correct, as it's an anglicized pronunciation of his Norse name, Heimdallr, which, by the way, is so much more fun to say. It sounds like a random noise your grandpa would make if he lost his dentures and then suddenly had a stroke. Heimdallr! There's no universal consensus on what his name actually means, though he does sometimes go by the epithet Gulitani, meaning golden teeth. Meaning that, much like dreadlocks, urban black culture also culturally appropriated grills. Can't wait to read the single-digit IQ flame war in the comments section over that one. Something far more cognoscible, though somehow far more confusing about Heimdallr, is his parentage. His father, predictably enough, is Woden. However, his mothers are far more obscure deities who may correspond to the daughters of the minor deities Aegir and Ran, thought to personify the waves of the sea. Oh, and yes, I did use the plural mothers and daughters. The mythology is pretty vague here. All we have to go off of is the single line from a lost poem, regurgitated to us in Snorri Sturlus's Gylfaginning, where Heimdallr literally just says, "Offsprings of 9 mothers am I, of 9 sisters I am the son." So you could probably charitably take this as Woden pulled a pharaoh of Egypt one day, jacked off into the water, and then the waves passed out Heimdallr as a literal pool baby. Or you could go by my personal theory that Woden smashed one of the girls, then after she gave birth, she passed the baby off to her sister, who shoved him up her snatch, only to push him back out, pass the baby on to the next sister, and then repeated that process 7 more times.
I was born 9 times that day.
Remember earlier when I said that repeating any of this information in casual conversation would get you face planted into the ground? Telling your friends about this part is probably going to get you put on some kind of watch list. Speaking of information conferred by the poem with the absolute best title ever, Chapter 27 of the Gylfaginning is entirely dedicated to Heimdallr. So let's read what else High has to say about this god. Heimdall is one. He is called the White God and is powerful and sacred. 9 maidens, all sisters, gave birth to him as their son. He is also known as Haliskidi and Gulitani, gold-toothed. And his teeth are gold. No shit. His horse is called Guldtrap, golden forelock. He lives near Bifrost at a place called Himinbijor. He is the watchman of the gods and sits at heaven's end, where he keeps watch over the bridge against the distance of 100 leagues. He hears the grass growing on the earth, and the wool on sheep, as well as everything else that makes more noise. He has the horn known as Galahorn, and its blast can be heard in all the worlds. Two, admittedly pedantic, things I'd like to take note of here. Number one is that he can basically hear everything, including things which don't actually make any sort of vibration. This is from the very same mythology which states that a cat's footsteps are so quiet and supposedly non-existent that they can be used to bind Fenrir. However, this is bullshit Norse magical hearing, at least in theory, as it is postulated by Caroline Larrington, English literature researcher of Oxford University, that Heimdallr, probably around the same time that Odin gave up one of his eyes at the well of Mimir for wisdom, cut off one of his own ears, then dropped it down the well and asked for enhanced hearing abilities. Like, dude, I get it, home releases of movies compress the hell out of sound quality, but you could've just got a surround sound system instead of Van Goghing yourself. Also, takeaway number 2 is the fact that he is known, ironically given the casting of the MCU, as the White God, or in some translations as the Whitest God. Now, why is this the funniest goddamn thing ever? Have you guys ever heard of something called racism, or a certain thing called eugenics, sometimes used to justify said racism? Would it surprise you at all to learn that canonically, according to the Norse, the whitest guy of the whole pantheon is responsible for both? So there's this poem called Rigthula, in which Heimdallr disguises himself as a vagrant called Rigger, no, I am not fucking with you, and goes around the countryside seeking hospitality from random strangers. The first couple he stays with is rather poor and offers him some rather unsatisfactory food. That night it is said that Rigger sleeps between the couple in their bed, and 9 months later the woman gives birth. Gee, I wonder where that one came from. Because the god was so displeased with the quality of their food, the child is said to be born Svartan, meaning dark, and is likewise named Preil, literally meaning slave. Next, Rigger goes to stay with a labor class family, gets some slightly better food, and when he inevitably cucks the man of the house yet again, this time the baby is said to be born with red hair, and his name was Karl, or Freeman, whose ancestors went on to be smiths, butchers, carpenters, and the like. Then Rigger comes upon a rich household, and for his troubles, he saddles the man of the house with the overgrown seed he planted into his wife, this time being born Bleiker, meaning bright white. Essentially saying that he had blonde hair, blue eyes, and this is all starting to sound very familiar. And this kid was named Jarl, or Lord, and wouldn't you believe it, but Jarl's descendants all had a knack for warfare. So they set out and conquered the lands of all of the other races and laid claim to them. Well, the good news is Theophon is now off the hook since he only indirectly, accidentally invented racism. Heimdallr did all this shit on purpose. By the way, if you think the Heimdallr joke is getting old, just remember, Heimdall always uses the hard R. By the way, if you were so bold as to repeat any of this information you just learned in this video to the FBI agent who was assigned to interrogate you, they will probably hand off your case to the SPLC, and you're likely about to lose your home. By the way, can you believe that we're still not done with the lore of this guy? Well, almost. The skaldic poem, Husdrapa, describes many important scenes from the canon of Norse mythology. It depicts Thor's fishing trip where he and Jormungandr have their first confrontation. It describes the funeral of Baldur, which signified the start of Ragnarok and the end of the 9 realms. It depicts Loki and Heimdallr fighting over a piece of jewelry disguised as seals. Yeah, this one is a little bit incomplete, as it is primarily preserved via the prose edda and this putrid little fuck. But essentially, it's a mostly lost tale where Freya has her cherished necklace, Brisingamen, stolen by Loki while she is sleeping, and so she enlists the aid of Heimdallr to help her out and find it. They track down Loki, who is trying to disguise himself as a seal, while still wearing the necklace, for some reason. And equally as jarring, Heimdallr also turns into a seal, and then they have a slap fight over it, and I imagine it's pretty underwhelming, especially by mythological standards. Oh, and also, this is really the only tale we have explaining the beef between Loki and Heimdallr, which explains why they kill each other at the Battle of Ragnarok. So if you choose to tell this tale to the other homeless people living by the underpass, they probably won't care. Some of them might not even know what a seal is. And that, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, is Heimdallr! At least the aspects of him which the mainstream mythology channels won't tell you about. Either because they're too cowardly about losing monetization, or all of this is just too obscure for them. We're big-brained around here. Now you will all know better for next time not to question my artistic interpretations of the Norse gods. This right here is the most lore-accurate depiction of Heimdallr on the internet today, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, which also just so happens to be my birthday. Either send me money or titty pics as per usual, thank you. My name is Messiahs in Mythology, and if you somehow made it to this point, you should probably just subscribe already. My entire channel is basically videos just like this, sad as that is. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, I hope you all have a God's blessed day and a good yard.
They tell me there's words that I can't